The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your Superchats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Cut down day is just 3 days away, baby. Every NFL team has to trim their roster from 90 players all the way down to 53. And for the New York Jets, I'll tell you this right now, the decisions won't be easy, but the preseason is in the books, which means it's time to sort out the roster. Who's in, who's out, who's on the bubble. We'll talk about that and much more, all coming up here on a Saturday edition of the Jake Asman Show, baby. Let's roll.
Man, AG's first training camp with the New York Jets is underway. We bleed Jets green each and every day. Will the playoff drought finally end? Kings of the offseason, baby. This is what we do. At least we have Garrett Wilson. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Superchats, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quentin Williams. Prepare to be underdogs. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
It is the Jake Asman Show, streaming live right here on YouTube, and we're presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Head over to FanDuel for all your betting needs. Week 1, 15 days away, baby. The New York Jets facing off, obviously, against the Pittsburgh Steelers and gangrene 3-point underdogs. That's the line at FanDuel. Head over to FanDuel again for all your betting needs. And with football season around, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be placing bets on the Jets, against the Jets, around the league. So make sure you check out FanDuel. Thank you all for joining us right here on this Saturday afternoon. Connor Long in for Jake Asman on the Jake Asman Show. Make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe because it is completely free and it helps the channel grow significantly. You guys can throw all your questions, your comments, your thoughts in the chat. If you want to get up on the screen, you want to give your takes, ask me some questions, share your thoughts on last night's loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, or any questions you may have ahead of cut down day, you could do so by using the pin linked at the top of the chat. The paid way to help support the show helps the show grow significantly, and it gives you an opportunity to win some pretty cool prizes. Your last chance to enter into Monday's membership raffle, and the prizes, they're heavy hitters, baby. A Joe Namath signed jersey, a Kevin Mawai signed jersey, and a signed photo signed by all 4 members of the Sack Exchange. So again, every gifted membership gives you an entry. You send in a qualifying Super Chat. That will give you an entry as well. Super Chats will cut the line. You can throw all your questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Call into the show with the pin comment. Again, I'm Connor Long, filling in for Jake Asman right here on the Jake Asman Show. The Jets preseason wrapped up last night. It was at home under the bright lights at MetLife Stadium. The team suffered a 19-17 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, but there's a ton to get into really at every position. And the NFL preseason is just 3 games. And while last night was the most unimportant, I think, from a fan perspective, just given the fact that the Jets played every healthy starter the first 2 games, and the only healthy starter who played yesterday for the Jets offensively was right tackle Armand Membu. We'll get into his performance later. But third preseason game for roster bubble players carries just as much weight as the first 2 games do, frankly, because not only are they auditioning for the Jets, but players on the bubble, players who already know their fate is sealed in New York, are auditioning for other teams around the league. And I want to start at the quarterback position because Adrian Martinez is not making this football team. He looked like he had the slight edge in the quarterback 3 battle entering last night, but that shifted quickly. What we've seen from him throughout the last 2 preseasons, he reminds me of that Chris Streveler type quarterback. He gives you exciting moments, he gives you juice, but at the end of the day, is he really an NFL quarterback? I don't think so. He struggled last night, 7 of 14 passing, 86 yards, and an interception. He had that poor interception, but then he had another one that should have been taken away by Philadelphia. He didn't see a linebacker, threw it right into that backer's hands before the defensive player dropped it. There was another fumble on what was almost a strip sack, but the ball just got ripped out of his hands. So Adrian Martinez overall did not perform well yesterday. whatsoever by any measure. Brady Cook and Adrian Martinez, those are these two guys battling it out for the QB3 job. Brady Cook looked like the clear winner yesterday on all accounts. He was throwing with great anticipation. He had great leverage. We even saw him use his legs to get downfield. I was very, very happy with the way he executed that 2-minute drill. While it didn't result in a touchdown, the team still got on the board. This team still got points. They converted a field goal, but the way he's able to drop back in the pocket, the way he's able to throw with that anticipation, fit multiple passes through tight coverage, I'm very pleased with what I saw yesterday out of Brady Cook. Final line was 68% passing for 99 yards. He had the interception. He was a lot better, in my opinion, than the final line showed. Like I said, he was fitting balls through tight coverage. He brought the team down the field within 2 minutes to get the field goal, the points before the half, which is always super important. So I was super, super pleased with Brady Cook and his performance yesterday. If I had to make a prediction today, now that we got the injury update from Aaron Glenn following last night's game regarding Tyrod Taylor, stating that he's, quote, confident Taylor will be ready to go for week 1. That's a huge sigh of relief for Jet fans, knowing that your steady veteran backup quarterback in Taylor will be ready for week 1. He will be ready to go. But when you talk about this QB3 battle, it's most likely going to be for a practice squad spot. And I think Cook's that guy who gets the spot on the practice squad. Those who read my work at jetsxfactor.com, those who watch my show, NY Flight Jets Talk on YouTube, you know that I have been a huge Brady Cook guy for a very, very long time. You look at the comparison from him to Martinez. Cook's a 23-year-old rookie. On the other hand, Martinez is 25 years old, and he's in his third NFL season right now. So Martinez already has the odds stacked against him when you talk about experience in the sense and trying to get younger at every position. Cook has the clear advantage here. Also, Cook has progressed so much since OTAs. I watched him throughout OTAs. I watched him throughout minicamp. Many people questioned if he would even make it to training camp the way he was performing. He was struggling a ton throughout OTAs, throughout the spring. Ultimately, he stays on this roster throughout training camp, throughout the summer. And I think he's shown why, from an intrigue standpoint, throughout the summer, throughout camp, throughout the preseason, why he deserves this role. Also, not to mention, I think the most exciting part of Cook, the most exciting facet that he brings to the table is his athletic ability. I'm going to rattle off this stat to you. He has a 9.71 relative athletic score, which is kind of takes all the combine metrics, the athletic metrics, and pushes them all together. If you know Joe Douglas, he loved the RAS score. Zach Kuntz, one of those RAS finds, the player the Jets picked up at the end of the draft, just pretty much due to his RAS score. But nevertheless, that 9.71 relative athletic score is just 0.3 points lower than Josh Allen, who scored a 9.74. And I'm the first to tell you, I don't put much stock into the combine. Again, I don't really care how guys throw in their underwear, but that's a perfect metric, for example, to measure a player's athleticism, their ability to create plays with their legs, their ability to get out of the pocket. I think there's so much intrigue with Cook from an athletic standpoint, and we even saw it passing-wise yesterday. This is someone who was fitting passes through tight windows, continuing to develop from an anticipation and leverage standpoint. I am very, very, very pleased with what I've seen from Brady Cook. I think Adrian Martinez is no longer in the green and white post-cutdown day. I think Brady Cook is on the practice squad. So I think Cook ultimately wins this battle, not to mention 5 years at Missouri. His last year, so 2023 was his breakout year. Last year was still a productive season for him. This guy doesn't turn the ball over either, which is exactly what you look for in a backup quarterback, someone you want to come in and start a few games for you. No turnovers, minimizing the mistakes, and Cook really showed just that last year at Missouri, a 1.0 turnover-worthy play rate, which was among the best in the country. So, again, you can't ask anything more out of a backup than to minimize mistakes, not turn the ball over. I'm not saying this guy is the second-string quarterback on this team this year. He's not even near a starting caliber quarterback right now. But there's something there. There's some meat on that bone, and that's what I've been emphasizing in recent weeks. There's upside. Sure. Did he throw a bad interception yesterday? Absolutely. I thought he got off to a rocky start. Which made me happy with Cook is he continues to rebound. He continues to progress every single time he gets an opportunity. And I think that's ultimately going to prove crucial for him down the road. I mentioned that, like, Martinez has kind of been steady Eddie, a lot of ups and downs. Cook came in very, very, very raw at OTAs and has progressed ever since. So I'm really, really happy with the trajectory that he's heading on. That's something that I wanted to highlight. And I want to move over to the running back position yesterday. And entering yesterday's game, I thought Kene Nwangu had locked up a roster spot. Yesterday only strengthened his case to stick around as the team's kick returner and running back for. Yesterday, for me, was an indication that he's going to be their starting kick returner. Didn't return one kick yesterday. They pretty much left those duties up to Dymere Miller, who has no chance of making this roster, although he had a nice 24-yard catch yesterday towards the end of the game as the Jets were rallying for that comeback. Donovan Edwards, who we'll get into him later, the Jets could potentially work out some roster gymnastics where he is able to stick around. And then Malachi Corley, who we know what Malachi Corley is, frankly. I don't think he has any shot of making this team's roster whatsoever. But my case in that point there is the Jets pretty much feel comfortable with Nwangu as their kick returner, given the fact that he did not return one kick yesterday. They kind of sat him out of that line of duty for yesterday. But we did see him get involved in the rushing attack. Last week, he averaged 5.2 yards per carry it was. And last night, he almost replicated that. 6 carries for 29 yards, a whopping 4.8 yards per carry. He also had a couple chunk plays that were called back. One that comes to my mind right away was the first play of the game where Armand Nembu was called for a hold. Nwangu, you roster Nwangu because of his special teams ability, but if he's able to give you any juice as the RB4, that's certainly a bonus, 100%. Again, he had the few chunk plays that were called back. Overall, he finished the night averaging 4.8 yards per carry. The two things that stick out to me with Nwangu, watching him rush with the ball in his hands, watching him as a ball carrier from a technical standpoint, he really gets his pad level low, and that's so important for a running back fighting for a roster spot. Pick up as many yards as he can, and we know the low man always wins. Plus, he has great vision. I've been a huge emphasis that's been a huge issue with Breece Hall for a very, very long time. I think we can agree if you look back at the film, Braylon Allen's vision could even be a little better. I'm not saying Kene Nwangu is an RB3, is an RB2. I'm saying he's a special teams kick returner who gives you some upside as the RB4 as well. So I think Kene Nwangu is a roster lock. And I mentioned Donovan Edwards earlier. All the fan base super high on him after the first preseason game. He showed that explosiveness, took a step back against the Giants, and nothing all that impressive yesterday. 9 carries for 26 yards and the touchdown, a grim 2.9 yards per carry. The way where Edwards could potentially stick around on this team is Isaiah Davis is dealing with an ankle injury. It appears that he still has a limp, and we don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. He's still not back to practice. With the new NFL rules, teams were allowed 2 short-term IR players right away without needing those players to clear waivers. So perhaps if Davis, is placed on short-term IR, the Jets could roll with 4 running backs on the active roster in Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Kene Nwangu, and Donovan Edwards. Personally, I think you can get Donovan Edwards through waivers. I don't think he's showed enough to get picked up by another team. Since the Packers game, I wasn't talking about putting Edwards on the active roster whatsoever. He's someone, however, though, I would like to stash on the practice squad because there is something there. Players just don't average 7 yards a carry at a Big Ten school like Michigan in the middle of nowhere because they have no talent. There's a reason for that. Edwards clearly has explosiveness. He clearly has some juice. And I like him. Is he a 53-man roster caliber player right now? If you were to sit and ask me among the league and among other running backs, no. Is he a practice squad guy? Sure. There's juice there. And I want to kind of monitor Donovan Edwards. Look, if there's an injury to Braylon Allen, if there's an injury to Breece Hall, we see him come up on the active roster, compile together a few nice games, averaging 4.5 yards per carry, then that's a win because keep in mind, this team didn't use a draft pick on Donovan Edwards. This was an undrafted free agent find from Darren Mushi. So if you can get anything out of him, it's certainly a bonus. An undrafted free agent who the Jets have gotten a lot out of this summer is Jamal Pritchett, someone I've been on since May, someone I've been kind of rallying for to make a push for this roster. And I think at this juncture right now, a spot on this team's roster is his to lose. He opened yesterday's game a little bit shaky. He muffed his first punt return. However, he recovered it to preserve possession. I've been a huge Jamal Pritchett advocate. So whenever he's out on the field, I'm always rooting for him. I'm always rooting for him to make some plays. And watching him muff that punt was tough. However, he dove on it, but then he quickly adjusted and made his presence felt the rest of the way, which is something that Aaron Glenn spoke to the media yesterday about, just his ability to get coached up on that. You don't want to see those mistakes, but his ability to just, boom, flip the script right away. He returned 3 more punts for an average of 21 yards, a 41-yard return that set the Jets up inside Eagles territory to open the possession. Unfortunately, the offense did virtually nothing, and it brought out Harrison, the thicker kicker, Mevis, who then proceeded to miss a field goal wide right. So ultimately, it didn't amount to points, but a 41-yard return. You see the juice, you see this explosiveness with a guy like Pritchett, and that carried on the offensive end as well. He's a sharp route runner. He's highly explosive, and he showed that on the stat sheet. 4 receptions for 54 yards. There was a highlight that was posted on the official NFL Twitter account. I recommend you checking it out. I would pull it up here on the show, but last time I believe Jake tried doing that. I was a guest on the show, and he got copyrighted, so we're not going to roll the dice on that again. But someone in the comments, I thought, made a great point. It was like watching Russell Westbrook hit a step back three. He had a great stop and go. He is a shorter, twitchier guy. He's about 5'9", 175 pounds. He's the Xavier Gipson replacement on this team. He is the guy who replaces Xavier Gipson as a kick returner and then also gives you more offensive value. Gipson, speaking of Gipson, continues to be riddled with injuries. We haven't seen much out of him this summer. He could potentially be a short-term IR candidate, not one of the 2 players who doesn't clear waivers, but they place him on waivers and then try to get him back on the short-term IR. I think that could potentially be the play for Xavier Gipson, someone who has shown all summer long, who's made his case and put some meat there, is Brandon Smith. This is someone who has really put an emphasis on catching every single pass. Frankly, he couldn't have done anything more to show why he deserves a spot on this team's 53-man roster. 10 catches for 113 yards throughout the preseason games. Finished first on the team in receptions, second in yards. This is someone who was in a similar situation last year, ultimately didn't make the roster, and now he's battling for a spot in the 53. He has NFL experience. He was with the Dallas Cowboys, an undrafted free agent at Iowa a few years ago. I'm rooting for this guy. And these past 2 weeks, admittedly so, in my 53-man roster predictions, which you can find over at jetsxfactor.com, I didn't have him on the roster. I emphasized that he's looked great throughout the preseason, but I'd much rather keep a guy like Quentin Skinner. And that stays true for me to this day. However, you have to put Brandon Smith on the 53 if you're Darren Muji, if you're Aaron Glenn. He has done everything humanly possible to show why he's worthy of a roster spot. You couldn't have asked for anything more out of him. That's what I'm saying. So I think Brandon Smith is on this team. Allen Lazard, another player, short-term IR candidate, dealing with a shoulder injury. That opens up potentially a spot for Brandon Smith. I really like Quentin Skinner. I really do. He continued to flash that explosiveness yesterday. 3 catches for 40 yards. He can be another Lazard replacement. Blocks very well, big body, lanky downfield threat. Contested catch guy you have to be worried about. There are a lot of guys who can replace Allen Lazard. Another one could potentially come on the waiver wire, and that's Tim Patrick. All the reports coming out of Lions camp say that Patrick is a strong candidate to be cut. There's a high chance that he's not on the Detroit Lions roster post-cutdown day. As Jet fans, we all know that Tim Patrick is someone this fan base was talking a ton about throughout the offseason as a free agent candidate. If he's cut, he's certainly a guy that this organization could look into. So there are a lot of guys to replace Allen Lazard. I don't want Allen Lazard on this football team by any measure. You can go the young route with Skinner or Smith. You can go the guy who has experience in this offensive system, who's proven more than Allen Lazard and Tim Patrick, or you could just cut Lazard and roll with Josh Reynolds and have him kind of take over that same role as Lazard as well. So there are multiple routes that this team could move on from Allen Lazard and get a nice upgrade. I think he starts on short-term IR, though, with this shoulder injury. It will ultimately buy this team more time to make a decision the first few weeks through the year, see who's performing, see who's underperforming, and then make a decision then. Former third-round pick Malachi Corley, mentioned it earlier in the show, had 2 beautiful returns yesterday, two returns for 51 yards, is ultimately what he finished with, nothing on offense. Too little, too late for Malachi Corley. He's not on this football team. He's shown you nothing offensively throughout the summer. No thank you. No Malachi Corley on this team. That ship has sailed, folks. It's just time, and I've tried to salvage every little thing out of it. I've tried to make the case why I think Corley deserves another chance in a modern-day offensive system. But it's just time to admit that that was a crazy, crazy asinine pick by Joe Douglas last year. Trading up to the top of the third round to take him over Brian Thomas Jr. was just another Joe Douglas miss. Fans are just going to have to come to that realization. I know it's unfortunate because you literally traded up to the first pick in the third round to take Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky. And they thought they had a plan to utilize him. That never came to fruition, frankly. He was never a great route runner coming out of college. The Jets decided to take or still roll the dice on him. Didn't work out. The new gadget guy who had a great game yesterday was Arian Smith. I know the offense is still trying to stay vanilla throughout the preseason, but that jet sweep really got me excited. Just a glimmer of and I tweeted that too, just a glimmer of the play designs that we're going to see with Arian Smith. I think it's going to be super exciting. We're going to see him run post routes all the way downfield. We're going to see him get sent all the way downfield on vertical routes down the sideline. But then we're also going to see those RPOs. We're going to see those jet sweeps. I'm super, super pumped to see what Arian Smith is able to accomplish in his rookie year with Tanner Engstrand as his offensive coordinator. Another player, like Malachi Corley, who's done too little, too late, is Jeremy Ruckert. All did 2 nice grabs yesterday for 8 yards, but is nothing short of a liability in the blocking game when you talk about a player like Jeremy Ruckert. Doesn't have a touchdown in his career, by the way. His dad was a Jet fan. He grew up a Jet fan. He's from Lindenhurst, New York. Great. But it's time to move on from Jeremy Ruckert. You can roll into the season, in my opinion, with Mason Taylor as your tight end 1, Stone Smart as your tight end 2, and then Andrew Beck as that hybrid guy who's able to block for you and run routes, and a clear upgrade from Lazard. Even if the Jets don't feel comfortable with those 3 guys on their roster, someone who I'm actually working on an article about for JetsXFactor.com, who's expected to be a cut candidate from the Steelers. CBS Sports listed tight end Darnell Washington as a cut candidate. And the explanation was, quote, the Steelers have options at tight end. Pat Freiermuth is the starter, and Jonnu Smith was acquired in an offseason trade. So they are the clear roster locks. Washington is a nice player, but Connor Hayward can play fullback and be used as an extra blocker. That was the blurb there from CBS Sports, explaining why former third-round pick Darnell Washington could be a cut candidate. And I tweeted about that the other day. If Darnell Washington is cut, the Jets should be the first team putting in a waiver claim. Way more offensive juice than Jeremy Ruckert. Way more offensive juice. A higher caliber blocker. People say he's a tight end trapped in an offensive tackle's body. Give me that guy any day of the week. Even if you can pick up a Jared Wiley, for example, from the Kansas City Chiefs, who is viewed as a cut candidate, bring him in over Ruckert. Or just go with the plan that I initially laid out. You roll into the year with Stone Smart, Mason Taylor as your tight ends, and then you have Andrew Beck as your hybrid H-back who can also run routes for you as well. But Jeremy Ruckert does not deserve a spot on this football team under any circumstance. I appreciate you all tuning in right here on the Jake Asman Show. Connor Long filling in for Jake right here on this Saturday afternoon. Again, for all your questions, comments, thoughts in the chat, you guys call into the show with the pinned comment if you want to get up here on the screen, give your takes. Jets X Factor's Michael Nania set to join me in roughly 5 minutes. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when he's set to join me. So looking forward to getting his insight, what he has to say on the preseason, what he has to say on this team as a whole. But our guy Jake is in the chat, who drops in with a $2 super chat. Shout out to you, Jake. Appreciate you tuning in, my friend. Says thanks to Connor filling in. Kid is a star. Well, Jake, that means a lot, my friend. I appreciate the kind words as always. And I did it, I think twice it was last week I filled in here on the show, or 2 weeks ago it was. I'm losing track of time. I'm going to have to sharpen that up as school starts up momentarily here. But Jake, thank you so much, my friend. It's always a blessing. It's always an honor. It's always a blast, nevertheless, to fill in for you here on the show. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, my friend, and thank you for the kind words. Jake also gifted a membership. We'll see who that membership went to. That membership went to Jesse P. Shout out to you, Jesse, receiving a membership right here on the Jake Asman Show. Then our friend Michael gets us started with some Super Chats. He drops in a $5 Super Chat.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man.
Michael says, I thought Glenn managed things pretty well down the stretch. Even without a clock manager, it would have been nice. So funny enough, Michael, and I appreciate the $5 Super Chat. Guys, every gifted membership or qualifying Super Chat gets you an entry into the weekly raffle right here on the show. Your last opportunity, your last show to get in, and there's some heavy-hitting prize, baby. A Joe Willie Namath signed jersey, a Kevin Mawai signed jersey, and a Sack Exchange signed photo. So get all your qualifying Super Chats in, get all your gifted memberships, because this is your last show to get in on the weekly raffle right here on the Jake Asman Show. So funny enough, Michael, the Jets actually do have a game clock manager, I believe is the title, and that's John Berger. He's worked for the NFL, he's worked for the league office, and that was a really intriguing hire that this team made this offseason that I think was pretty overlooked. So the Jets have a clock manager, which is intriguing, and we're going to see how that kind of comes into effect. Jets also hired a director of player performance, Eric Corum, their first time doing that in a while. So they're kind of experimenting with these new roles. But what you mentioned there with Glenn managing things well, I completely agree. Completely agree. I thought Glenn handled the game well. There hasn't been a game where I'm like, what are we doing play calling wise? And that's more of a testament towards the coordinators, Steve Wilkes and Tanner Engstrand. But I feel like watching Nathaniel Hackett, even watching Jeff Ulbrich at time call plays, it's like, what are we doing here? But I think the play calling overall, granted it's just preseason, has been a lot more sound with Steve Wilkes and Tanner Engstrand. But nevertheless, Michael, thank you so much for the $5 Super Chat. And again, guys, send in your qualifying Super Chats. Gift away your memberships because this is your last show, your last opportunity to get into the weekly membership raffle right here on the Jake Asman Show. Again, the prizes that you're entering for: a Joe Namath signed jersey, a Kevin Mawai signed jersey, and a Sack Exchange signed photo, baby. Thank you so much for all your support. Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on the Jake Asman Show. Again, for all your questions, comments, thoughts in the chat, open phone lines if you want to call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. We appreciate your support, as always, right here on the Jake Asman Show. Again, I am Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on the show. Thank you all for joining us right here on this Saturday afternoon. Jets preseason officially in the books. We're talking players who are on the bubble, players who have already secured roster spots, and things of that ilk. As cutdown day for the New York Jets, baby, is just 3 days away. A lot of stuff we got to continue to explore here, because for the Jets, it's going to be a tough decision than most teams, because there are a lot of players who I don't think are going to get a spot on this team's 53-man roster, but you can easily make a case for it. Easily. And we're really not going to see a lot of those decisions unfold until cutdown day, which is in a few days for the Jets. Again, just 3 days away. That's Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when cutdown day unfolds. So certainly stay tuned for that. Thank you all for joining us here on the show. Again, Super Chats memberships will come up immediately. Open phone lines if you want to do so by using the pinned comment at the top of the chat. We appreciate your support as always. Jets X Factor's Michael Nania set to join me here on the show momentarily. So if you got any questions for Michael, you want to pick his brain on this team, you could do so by submitting a Super Chat or calling into the show with the pinned comment. Again, Jets X Factor's Michael Nania joining us shortly right here on the Jake Asman Show as Connor Long, myself, filling in for Jake Asman right here on this Saturday afternoon. I want to get over to the defensive line because I've seen a lot of people talk about Tyler Barron, Jets' fifth-round rookie, who they traded up for, and talk about him as a potential cut candidate. Yes, he has not looked great this preseason under any circumstance, and I'm not here to defend him. He hasn't stuck out. He hasn't made any huge plays, but Tyler Barron will be on this football team. The fact that he was a draft pick this year, I don't think there is a world where the Jets cut a fifth-round draft choice, especially one that they traded up for. So I think Tyler Barron, excuse me, talking about Michael Clemens, he's going to be on the team whether we like it or not too, by the way, and I'll dive into that a little later. But I think Tyler Barron. There's no world that he's not on this football team. We've seen a lot with day 3 rookies, especially defensive players. It takes them a little time to learn the scheme, adapt. I'm not overreacting because we haven't seen a ton out of Tyler Barron. We haven't seen sack after sack after sack. I'm not overreacting because of that. Give him some time, but most definitely he will be on this football team. There is not a world where the Jets move on from him. If they are going to roster Michael Clemens, the player who they just took in the 5th round, most notably traded up for in Tyler Barron, will be on this team as well. Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on this Saturday afternoon. Again, smash the like button, hit subscribe, open phone lines. You can get in on the conversation by using the pinned link at the top of the chat. Superchats, memberships, they get your raffle entries and come up immediately right here on the show. I mentioned him earlier, and he joins us right now, baby. Jets X Factors, Michael Nania joining us here on the show, my colleague, the analytical wizard, the film demon that he is, joining us right now on the Jake Asman Show. Michael, how you doing, my friend? Appreciate you hopping on.
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the superlatives there. I don't know if I would give myself those titles, but since it comes from you, I guess they're official now.
I appreciate it. I want to dive into an article that you wrote earlier today for Jets X Factor, talking about how the QB3 decision now is easier than it's ever been, talking about Brady Cook and Adrian Martinez. And I've been a big believer in Brady Cook since the beginning of May, since they truly added him onto this football team. What's the biggest difference that you see in Brady Cook and Adrian Martinez that makes Cook separate himself and put him in a higher tier than Martinez?
Yeah, I think it's just the sustainability of the things that he's done. And, we've seen a lot of Jets preseason stars at every position over the years. But you think about quarterback and, Chris Streveler had his moments in the preseason. But then when we saw him in the regular season, especially in that game against the Jaguars, none of that stuff translated because you have to be able to work in structure and hit passes with timing, anticipation, accuracy against a starting defense with weather and everything. And I'm not saying Brady Cook has proven he could do that yet, but the way that he's gone about these 3 games and just hearing the way that things have gone in practice, especially Robbie has really been noting the progress that Cook has made, because you go back to OTAs, the reports out OTAs where he didn't belong on the field out there. And then he steadily improved throughout training camp and these preseason games. So just looking at the way he played last night, and, it wasn't, he missed some throws. He had an interception he would like to have back. It wasn't pretty or anything, but I just feel like the body of work throughout these 3 preseason games, especially this one and the 2-minute drive at the end of that first half, it just felt like he has a lot more anticipation to his throws, more willingness to hang in the pocket, go through reads, and just the accuracy from within structure to the throws that the Jets are going to want to hit in this offense. Intermediate throws, middle of the field, whether it was, he had a nice outbreaker, he had a couple of nice slants where he was just fitting it into tight windows. And, Martinez, he's a great athlete and he can create, but, it was a lot of backyard football, things that I don't think would translate as well to regular season football as being able to perform in structure. And on top of that, he had 3 turnover worthy plays in this game. He had the 2 that actually were converted, and he also had a really bad one where he threw it right to a linebacker and he just dropped it. So I feel like Brady Cook has separated himself, and plus he's still a rookie versus Martinez, 3rd year. And Cook has incredible athleticism as well. He just didn't use it as much in the preseason because he was doing a nice job of staying within the structure of the offense, but he can move to the same degree. We saw it in college, and his athletic testing numbers were top of the line for a quarterback. So I definitely think that he separated himself in this game.
There are 3 main things, Nania, that I look for in backup quarterbacks nowadays. 3 things that I look for: athleticism, mobility. Obviously, Brady Cook fits that bill. Someone who's able to keep the offense on script, on structure. Cook was able to do that last night and not turn the ball over. Brady Cook had a 1.0% turnover-worthy play rate last year at Missouri. This is someone who's able to keep the offense on structure, on script, like you mentioned, minimize turnovers, and then the athleticism. I mentioned it earlier in the show, and I quoted your article, Michael. his RAS score is right up there with Josh Allen. He hasn't shown it in the preseason. We saw a glimpse of it yesterday in the 2-minute drill in the red zone when he needed to take off, picked up a couple nice, 8-yard runs there. But we haven't really seen him get that full burst, really showcase his ability on the ground. And I think if we do see him in an NFL game this season, which as much as I like Brady Cook, I hope that's not the case, because if you see Brady Cook taking regular season snaps, Michael, that's typically an indication that the season hasn't gone all that well. But I think if we see him with the scheme that this offense is going to be running in the regular season, less vanilla, we would have seen more of that athleticism. Someone who was athletic last year in the preseason and carried that into this season, progressing each and every single game, is wide receiver Brandon Smith. And I know you've seen my 53-man roster predictions the first 2 weeks. I had Smith on the practice squad both weeks. It was simply because I think a guy like Quentin Skinner has more upside. I think there's more intrigue with his physique, his age, averaging over 20 yards of reception at Kansas last year, his blocking ability. But seeing the momentum that I'm talking about Brandon Smith here, was able to bring into last night's game and finish out the preseason with, I think if he doesn't make the 53-man roster, Michael, it's just an indication that he had no chance in making it right from the gate, because he's done everything he possibly can to earn a roster spot this summer.
Yeah, and you go back to last preseason as well. He's now stacked a body of work here across 2 preseasons where he's caught the majority of what has come his way. He had the one pass last night that was contested, got knocked out of his hands. But before that, he caught every single catchable pass between this preseason and last. And then, he finished strong with a couple more catches after that. So I feel like he fits sort of a mold that the Jets don't really have in this receiver room, kind of big-bodied possession receiver in the middle of the field. So I think, not saying there's a role for him in the offense, but, it's a skill set that I don't think there's a lot of competition for within that bottom of the roster. Pritchett, we'll see. And I think Pritchett should be on the roster, but, he has to compete against Gibson. You're talking about, Skinner as much different player than Arian Smith, but both would be running vertical routes. That would be their specialty. So some of these guys have competition to where you might understand why the numbers game would keep them out. But with Brandon Smith, I feel like there's more of a niche for him that isn't being filled with other receivers in that room. So the body of work is really solid. I would hope to see that at least 2 of those 3 guys between Skinner, Brandon Smith, and Pritchett are on the roster. If I were the GM, I'd find ways to get all 3 of them on there. Yeah. Cut Lazard, whoever you got to get out of there to get some upside into that room, because as much as this position is thin and a big question mark, the back end of, more so than any other position, I think the back end of this position group really showed out in the preseason between those 3 guys and Arian Smith as well. I think the question here in this unit is that they don't have a bona fide number 2 receiver. That's the hole. But beyond that, I think if these guys can continue what they've done, if Arian Smith can build on the promise that he's shown, then I think, it could be in a good spot. And even with Josh Reynolds, he's a quality number 3 receiver. It's just that the lack of a number 2 now has him miscast in a larger role than that. So I think you have to like the way that the back end of this competition shook out.
Now, you mentioned Allen Lazard there. I think he's going to play a huge role in what the Jets do with this roster. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. He's kind of sat out of practice now for the past couple of weeks. He could potentially be a short-term IR candidate, and something that I pointed out earlier in the show, Michael, that I don't think enough fans are aware of. NFL teams are now allowed 2 players who could just divert directly onto the short-term IR list without having to clear waivers and do the gymnastics to get them back on the 53. So that's certainly something intriguing to monitor when you talk about the back end of the wide receiver room being so competitive, and then injuries to 2 players in Allen Lazard, and also injury to Xavier Gibson as well. So a lot of what's going to happen with the short-term IR is going to affect kind of the Jets' plans, in my opinion, how many receivers that they carry, and could the Jets potentially trade Lazard. I mentioned the tight end position earlier and how Jeremy Ruckert, I just thought, has done too little, too late. And someone I was messaging you about earlier actually is Darnell Washington of the Pittsburgh Steelers, seeing him listed as a cut candidate. Obviously a high draft pedigree, similar to Ruckert, a 3rd-round pick just a few years ago. He's a tight end trapped in an offensive tackle's body. And when you talk about replacing Jeremy Ruckert, everyone talks about his blocking ability, but guys like us, Michael, who analyze the analytics and look at the film, Ruckert whiffs all the time. That blocking pedigree that he received coming out of college clearly has not transferred into the NFL. He offers virtually nothing as a pass catcher. Connecting that to the wide receiver room and Alan Lazard's connection to the Pittsburgh Steelers, would you trade Alan Lazard straight up for Darnell Washington, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely I think I would do that because otherwise his trade value is probably like the equivalent of what the Jets just did. Like maybe you get a 6th or 7th swap, conditional 7th, something like that. He's like someone you would take anything for. But yeah, I mean, like you said with Ruckert, I think the pass catching, I don't even really care about that at this point. It would be nice if he could unlock anything. And just in general, it's not a lot of offenses that have a second tight end who is a quality receiver. Some do, but that's a luxury. It's just the blocking. That's what this offense really needs. And you see it in the wide receivers this preseason, how well they've blocked, how intense they've been blocking, their involvement in the concepts they're running. It's really important for skill position players to block in this offense, and he just can't do it. Like he's poor in a really visible way. It's not like he doesn't have a lot of pancakes or he's just like meh. That would be fine, but he has too many reps where he's just getting cooked immediately, and it's going to be a huge issue in this offense if he's to play a lot of snaps. He's going to get a lot of run plays blown up, and the Jets will be behind the stick. So I do think, you mentioned Washington. That would be a great target because I think with his size, hopefully you could at least get adequate blocking. I think that's all you're looking for. And, if they don't make that pickup, I definitely think that tight end is right up there on their priority list for cut down day. It's pretty likely someone's going to get waived who can offer you more than all of your non-Mason Taylor tight ends as a blocker. So I would, if not Washington, I definitely think that, or maybe he gets waived and the Jets could pick him up. So I would expect some sort of move at tight end coming up.
Questions, comments, thoughts, throw all of those in the chat. Open phone lines, call into the show with the pinned comment. Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on this Saturday edition of the Jake Asman Show, joined by the great Michael Nania of Jets X Factor. Jake actually has a question here in the chat. It says, Connor, what could be the biggest surprise cut you see happening? I want to get you in on this as well, Michael. This is something that we at Jets X Factor were talking about a ton during the game last night, after the game. Leonard Taylor III. You look at the trades that this team made earlier in the week, acquiring Jawan Briggs, acquiring Harrison Phillips. Those two, both roster locks. Harrison Phillips looking like the clear-cut guy to line up opposite of Quinnen Williams come week one. So for the roster locks, you obviously have Quinnen Williams. You have Jawan Briggs. You have Harrison Phillips. Byron Cowart was looking like a roster lock before that ankle injury. Jay Tufele looks like he secured his spot being in street clothes last night for the final preseason game. So even say Cowart starts the year on short-term IR, which I think there's, a case to be made that could be factual and come to fruition before week one. That's still 4 roster locks. And then the final roster spot is between Leonard Taylor III. It's between Derek Nottie, but I think he has no horse in this race. I think he's done. He's been able to make no impact throughout the preseason. It's between Peyton Page, who had a sack yesterday. I think Leonard Taylor III is on this roster, but it wouldn't surprise me, Jake, if he is cut. So I'd have to say Leonard Taylor III here. He was playing snaps in the third quarter of last night's preseason game, and for someone who showed a lot of juice as this team's second best true pass rusher last year, that's not a promising sign if you're playing snaps in the third quarter of the final preseason game when this battle is so tough. So I'd say Leonard Taylor III here, Jake. Michael, what are you thinking?
That's what I was going to say. I tried to think about something else while you were talking. I think that's just the one I have to go with because I know most Jets fans wouldn't agree with it. I wouldn't agree with it, but just reading the tea leaves, reading between the lines, I think the writing's kind of on the wall when you're playing in the third quarter of a preseason game. One of your main competitors in Tufele, like you said, he's in street clothes. Your team just traded for 2 new players at this position. It's not looking good, and I don't really know why. I mean, he didn't have he didn't have the most standout preseason of all time, but I thought he's pretty consistently solid. Even in this game, I saw him getting some push a few times, holding up decently in the run game. Nothing incredible, but we already know the upside that he showed last season as an undrafted rookie. And prior to that, his stock was a lot higher earlier in his college career. So he's a guy with a lot of upside. And especially as a pass rusher in this defensive tackle unit that doesn't have a lot of pass rush juice, they made the 2 pickups that they just did, but both of those guys are run game leaning. So he still has the second highest pass rush ceiling out of this interior group, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised at this point based on everything we just said, but I definitely am just curious as to why they would make that decision, especially Tufele. I know he had a great opener and he's apparently shown a lot of progress in camp, but just looking at the track records, Taylor's in his second year, and in that first season, he really did more than Tufele has ever done in 4 NFL seasons. So just based on that, I would lean Taylor. But yeah, it's a curious one to kind of understand if that is what comes to pass.
Certainly. And you mentioned the fact that they traded and acquired 2 interior defensive tackles after kind of pushing that can down the road all off season long since free agency initially kicked off. I hope Darren Muji has that same thought process with the edge position as well, because we saw Braden McGregor get in the backfield. That's who he was at Michigan. That's who he is. He's a poor run defender who will rank among the worst in the league when it comes to run defense, but does give you some juice off the end. However, he is not a rotational pass rusher in the NFL. He's a guy fighting for that final edge spot, assuming that you roll with 10 or 11 defensive linemen. Give me Jadeveon Clowney. Give me someone like Zadarius Smith, another guy I've been writing about a ton all the way since March in free agency first kickstart. The guy could get you 9 to 11 sacks a year. Has been an efficient run stuffer throughout the entirety of his career. Has experience in this defensive scheme. Michael, I think it would be a huge mistake if this team rolled in the year with Michael Clemens as their third defensive end, excuse me.
Yeah. And I did an article this morning. Kind of my first takeaway from this game or last night's game is, which positions stood out as where we might see a move being made. And, you see Jeremy Ruckert playing snaps. That led me to think tight end. And the other one that stood out to me is the edge position, because, as you said, you're talking about Michael Clemens, a guy who we've all clamored to be released throughout the summer and was objectively one of the worst edge rushers in the league last year. He's your clear-cut third defensive end right now. And I can't even argue for him to be released at this point with Weaver going on IR and no one else really doing anything to push him in that unit. Tyler Barron I heard you talking when I first got on. I think he's in. He didn't do too much, but 5th round pick isn't getting cut unless you
traded up for as well. And it's not we're talking about the wide receiver position here where you have so many out of the roster guys. Like, you're not cutting a 5th round pick, Michael, who you traded up for.
Yeah, I think 5th round and up is pretty much locked unless they really, are just abominable out there, like Ja'Kai Polite or something. But so he should be safe. And then after that, Eric Watts, who I liked last season, but he struggled this preseason. Beyond that, Jonathan made a play here or there. McGregor finally showed up last night, but just really nothing beyond Clemens. So you have a starter in Jermaine Johnson, who you don't know what he's going to give you off an Achilles. You would love to ease him, not necessarily ease him in like he's not going to play, but, just allow him to go at his own pace, and you don't have the depth to really do that. So yeah, this is definitely a position where I would like to see that, whether it's a waiver pickup, trade, or like you said, there are some really solid veterans still out there who would raise the floor of this unit and give them that depth that they need with Jermaine Johnson and the uncertainty with what he's going to provide. So Zadarius Smith has the connection with Glenn from last season. I think Clowney is a really good fit for what this, there's a theme with this defense. After the Robert Saleh era, when it was very athleticism and kind of explosiveness, gap shooting based, you're starting to see more of a trend of size, discipline, gap holding, especially with these 2 defensive tackle trades. And I think Clowney and his sturdiness on the edge, run defense would fit that. Same thing for Zadarius Smith. So it would be a good move. I know the Jets aren't a win now team or anything, but you also they want to compete and they want to win games, and both of those players would help them raise the floor of this defense because they're one Jermaine Johnson injury away, or Will McDonald, or Johnson just not being himself. They're that close to Michael Clemens starting, and that's just not where you want to be.
Michael, I want to gauge your thoughts on what's occurring and what those in the chat are conversing about right now. Molan Labe says, Nania is normal V-Man, to which Jake followed up with and said, Michael Nania and V-Man are long-lost brothers. Mike, are you familiar with V-Man, a regular on this very program and those among Jets YouTube?
I may have been filled in other times that I've showed up here, but sometimes I forget the lore, so I'm not entirely familiar.
I've been looking through the StreamYard files. This is the best I could find when it comes to a glimpse of V-Man. Here, Michael.
It's time for another V-Man call. Hopefully he's not sleeping. Adios mio.
Do you think that is a fair assessment from those in the chat?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I need to gather more information to make a final designation on that. I'm not sure.
V-Man is known for his Puerto Rican heritage. Are you? The chat wants to know if you share any Puerto Rican descent.
I am fully Italian on both sides, so.
Oh, there we go.
Can't share on that front.
Those who watched my pregame show last night know I'm broadcasting live from Italy right now. I'm currently in Italy, so broadcasting live right here from Italy. So it is 7:20 p.m. where I am right now. So a bit of a time change. I did stay up till I think.
Where are you at?
I'm currently in Sorrento, and we're like kind of near the Amalfi Coast. That's where we're. Where we are right now. And it was tough last night because I had to watch the game on my computer, and NFL Plus does not carry outside of the United States. So I had to pay for like some random subscription because I didn't want to risk not being able to find a legal streaming link. So I paid like $18 for a random subscription. And that's how I was able to.
I want to make sure we protect the prize that V-Man won. Look at this thing. And he's wearing the Brits jersey. You kidding me? Come on, V-Man, help him out a little bit. Best we can do with V-Man.
Captain Puerto Rico, away.
That was not me. Yeah. That was Jake Asman, who's backstage.
I don't have the flying ability either, so
you don't have the flying ability.
I'm grounded, so I can't relate.
Stayed up till 5 a.m. though, Michael, to watch the Jets preseason finale last night. So that's
dedication. I had a hard time. I'm not saying a hard time. I enjoy it, but just the lack of stakes. It is a little bit of a drag. So even though 10:30 on the East Coast is a little bit of a chore, but they made it exciting at the end. So.
Certainly. The great Gator McCluskey, Michael, who is known for creating all those videos, crafting all those videos and graphics, has just texted me what appears to be an AI-generated picture of you. Do you have any thoughts on this? Where is it? Let me see if I can pull it up. Any thoughts on this creation from Gator McCluskey?
I think that's an absolute abomination. That's my thoughts.
Wow. Is it worth?
I think it's detestable.
Wow. So AI doesn't get the pass here. Well, you're not a big AI guy, right, Michael? From
I'm not an AI guy. I like Allen Iverson, but
there we go. But you're younger too. That's interesting.
Nobody gives a shit.
Gator McCluskey is pleased with his discovery there. He thinks he nailed it, but Michael Nania would say otherwise. Michael, thank you so much for joining us and sparing some time here on the show. I know we didn't kind of chat backstage before. You got to be out. Do we have some time for a couple more questions? What's the deal here?
I could probably do a few more minutes.
Awesome. Well, let's head over the phone lines while we have Michael here. It's time for. Can't find the intro, unfortunately, because I would play it, but it's time for a Mad Max call, baby. Max, what's going on?
What's up with you guys? Can you guys hear me?
We can.
So, some takeaways from the preseason game. Penalties are a big problem. Sorry, we had 10 penalties. We just can't win games in the National Football League with the penalties. Granted, some of the penalties were ticky-tacky. The Jarius Monroe penalty, that was a ticky-tacky one. There was no pass interference. There was no holding call. the Eagles receiver ran into the guy. It was crazy. Like that was ticky tacky. And then Medbu had 2 penalties. Granted, the guard had 1 penalty. And then some players I think should stay on the team. So I think Quentin Skinner should make the team. He got a couple of nice catches. He had a touchdown in the Giants game. I want to see Pritchard make the team. Banjo really liked the guy, and he has a couple good kick returns. He's a very good kick returner. He could be our punt returner for the team. And then some players I think are gonna get cut. Malcolm Corley, bro, on the Brady Cook interception. It's crazy. Parry Nickerson intercepted. Former Jets player intercepted the ball. So on the interception, Cook had a bad pass, but to be fair, what do you guys' opinion on me doing a backflip through this orange wall? I was saying Corley had a really bad route, and Corley's getting cut. He is not a good player. I mean, there's reports they just want to play special teams. Like, we don't need this attitude on the team. And then Kuntz is getting cut. I tried defending Kuntz, but he can't make a catch. And then my tight end room. So Mason Taylor, tight end 1, Stone Smart, tight end 2. And I think Beck can make the team. He's a really good blocker, blocking tight end, and he could be a really good tight end 3.
Max Gator says you are on your 9th Red Bull of the day.
No, that's not true.
Have you consumed any Red Bull?
No. What do you guys' opinion on me doing a backflip through this orange wall?
Max, thank you so much for the call, my friend. Appreciate the takes. Mike, you survived your first Mad Max call. Thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was in grave danger the couple times. He threatened to backflip through my wall, so I'm lucky to still be here.
Yeah, I know you got to run. So I'm happy that he mentioned penalties, because I was actually going to mention that after the call. You wrote a highly intriguing article yesterday, I think it was before yesterday's game, on why fixing penalties and why, being one of the most disciplined teams in the game when it comes to penalties and, pass interference calls, holding calls, things of that nature, doesn't affect the Jets, doesn't affect NFL teams as much as the average fan would think. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't attempt to control them as much as you can, or that you should try to commit more, or that it's a good thing if you do, but there really is very little correlation between how many penalties you commit and teams' records. There's pretty much none. I showed it in the article. It's just a straight line. There's no relation between those things. And I think it's because, committing more penalties can coincide with positive tendencies, and committing fewer penalties can coincide with negative tendencies. We all want the Jets to play harder, have a more physical identity under Aaron Glenn, do all these things related to intensity and tenacity. It's kind of hard to do that and, avoid penalties at the same time. You don't want guys easing off the gas pedal to avoid penalties. Let me not recover on this vertical route because I got beat. I don't want to commit a penalty and just let him score a touchdown, or, ease up. You're about to sack the quarterback. I don't want to get a roughing the passer. Let me just, slow up a little bit. And then he scrambles and scores. So I think there are instances where, you look at Baltimore, Buffalo, they're consistently near the top in penalties. Eagles are 12th over the last 5 years. So there's a lot of really good teams who are on the upper end of penalties. So yeah, the Jets need to get below number 1 where they were the last 2 years. You don't want to see that. So they definitely need to improve, but it's really just the pre-snap ones and things like that, that don't have anything to do with playing hard. But if you commit some holdings, pass interference, even a couple roughing the passers, things like that, that could just go hand in hand with playing harder and having the culture that you need to win games. There's a lot of highly penalized teams that still win a lot of games. So the pre-snap ones, they had quite a few of those last night. That's what you want to focus on. Controllable, silly penalties, but the number as a whole, I think, is a little bit overrated. You could still win a lot of games while committing penalties, and a lot of great teams do. So that's kind of my main perspective on it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on the Jake Asman Show. Continue to throw all of your questions, thoughts in the chat. We're going to continue to get to your calls. You can load those up by using the link, that is pinned at the top of the chat. We appreciate your support as always. Michael, as always, I appreciate you sparing some time. And I think after today's spot, it looks like you hold some animosity towards the great Gator McCluskey after this AI-generated creation.
That's awful. It's awful.
Set up. It's not against Gator, Michael. It's against ChatGPT. It's against Grok or whatever platform that he decided to use to help facilitate that creation. But nevertheless, I appreciate you hopping on. You're back on the Cool Your Jets podcast. You're on WFAN. You're doing all these crazy things. So I appreciate you spending some time for me, Michael.
I appreciate it. Always a blast to be on Jake's show and yours. So absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen.
A blessing.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's Jets X Factors, Michael Nania. We appreciate him sparing some time. Quick break, a word from Fireman Ed about the Gangrene Legends Cruise occurring on May 30th of 2026 through June 4th. And we will be back right here, Connor Long, filling in on the Jake Asman Show.
Hey, Fireman Ed here. Join me on a trip to Bermuda, baby. Royal Caribbean's Independence of the Seas, May 30th to June 4th, 2026. Join the New York football legends Marty Lyons, Bilal Powell, Leon Washington, Sean Ellis, Kevin Mawai, Chris Ivory, and Jericho Cotchery, and all the podcasters. We are going to have the time of our lives, Q&As, meet and greets. It's going to be a spectacular cruise. Come join Fireman Ed on the cruise of a lifetime. Go to cruisewithlegends.com and book your trip today. Let's go!
You heard it there. Cruisewithlegends.com to set sail with Jake, Jets Legends, and top creators for the first time again. That is cruisewithlegends.com. That cruise will be from May 30th through June 4th, 2026. Taking off from New Jersey, baby, and heading all the way to Bermuda. So make sure you get on that. Again, more details, cruisewithlegends.com. Join Jake. Join fellow Jets podcasters. Join Fireman Ed alongside so many Jets greats. Again, that is cruisewithlegends.com. I'm Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on this Saturday edition of the Jake Asman Show. Continue to load up all of your questions, your comments, your thoughts in the chat. If you guys want to get in on the conversation, you could do so by using the pinned link at the top of the chat. We appreciate your support as always. Next up, right here on the show, if there's the definition of an electric caller, this guy is just that. All aboard the lane train, baby.
Hi, how are you? Bruce Hall. That's good. Hi, Connor Long.
Lane. How you doing, Lane?
How are you? I'm hanging in there. Fortunately, I had to pass. Something happened. I lost my father to a heart attack. So he died the other night. Daddy died. So yeah.
My thoughts and prayers with
you.
You.
The funeral was the other day. So yeah, I guess it was time. So I text Nick Stein about Jet stuff to make a donation, bikini, and and also and Jet stuff. So probably he's actually trying to work on it.
There we go.
Anyway, the Jets should have won. Did you watch the game last night? I think they should have pulled it off with Menbu, Martinez. I mean, how do you feel?
Well, last night's game was interesting, Lane. It was the third preseason game, so it's typically the one that fans put less stock into. So the way that works is teams tend to emphasize, teams especially that play starters like the Jets did, tend to emphasize using them in the first two games. And then the third preseason game is typically saved for end of the roster guys who were trying to make a final push, trying to get a last chance, auditioning for other teams around the league. So last night was intriguing. It didn't really change my opinion on all that much.
How do you feel about Tyrone Taylor? You think they'll start him?
Tyrod Taylor?
Tyrone Taylor.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback on this team for week one, undoubtedly. So Taylor actually underwent a knee scope earlier this month. So there was a lot of concern about around the fan base regarding his health and whether he'd be ready for week one. But
I'm sorry, we were talking.
Sorry?
I'm sorry to cut you off for a second. Yeah, I mean, you have to cut down to 53-man roster once the regular season starts, though. Who do you cut down?
You got to cut down a lot of guys. A notable one that I have been emphasizing for a while now is Malachi Corley. He's off this
Yeah.
football team. Jeremy Ruckert, another guy
Yeah.
I don't expect to be on this football team, someone who is definitely not worthy of a roster spot. Blocking has been pitiful throughout the preseason, throughout his career, frankly, gives you nothing as a pass catcher. So those are the two guys of most note who I think will be off the team. And I'll give you a defensive name too, who's pretty notable. Derek, free agent addition, hasn't done nearly enough for me.
You still have Jermaine Johnson's number and name. I could see him starting maybe the second half. A beast breaker part.
Thoughts on that one?
It's funny. Yeah, I mean, you really have to start Justin Fields in week 1. I mean, I know he was injured, and last night I was watching it, he had his leg wrapped up because I think he pulled it. So, yeah, and you really have to think about what do you do with because you're going to have to face Aaron Rodgers and probably be a lot of booing in week 1, and then week 2 you have Buffalo. The Jets are playing. So
certainly, there's going to be a lot of decisions that he's going to have to make. Cut down day, only 3 days away now. Lane, we appreciate the call. You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, and I mean, all this tanking business, I don't think it's going to happen this year because last year, I don't know why the whole football commissioner was like saying that you have to do this, you have to do that. It was so terrible. I mean, I was upset. And then, you got to work on, because I think last night, the reason why the Jets did not win was because they dropped too much passes and stuff. And I don't think I was watching and they missed the field goals. So I guess the Eagles probably played a little bit better. That's all I have to say. So I know you have other callers to take. All right. Bye.
Lane, thoughts and prayers with you, my friend. You're the best. Have a great day.
Thank you. You're welcome. Hi. Sorry, everybody. See you next call when we talk about sports again.
Great call there from the Lane train. Thank you all for tuning in right here on the Jake Asman Show. Send in a qualifying super chat. Gift memberships because this is your last show for an opportunity to get entered in this week's raffle. Some heavy-hitting prizes, baby. A Joe Willie Namath signed jersey, a Kevin Mawai signed jersey, and a Sack Exchange signed photo among the prizes that will be given away in this week's raffle. Last show to enter. Send in the qualifying super chat. Gift a membership to get entered here on the show. Kyle Clifton's been a member for 16 months. This can Connor Hayward from Pittsburgh be post cut down? Would staff prefer him to Ruck? He is very, very, very similar, Kyle, to Andrew Beck, that hybrid H-back, fullback, route runner. I think it's very, very different. So I don't think he's different enough, to Andrew Beck, for example, to warrant the Jets to bring him in. Like Darnell Washington, for example, I think is the perfect Ruckert replacement. And I listed the reasoning above as to why I think he offers more as a blocker, why I think he is certainly a more proven pass catcher. He's more of a fit than Hayward. Hayward, in my opinion, is way too similar from a skill set standpoint to Andrew Beck. So I think they are way too similar in that sense. I don't know if it makes sense for Gangrene to pull the plug there, pull the trigger. Britt sends in a $10 super chat. Shout out to you, Britt. Appreciate the support. Says, Jake, if you see this, I have a question. LOL. Did you watch Green Bean's live stream last night? Because there was a person in the chat with your name, and everyone thought it was fake. LOL. Jake confirms in the chat that it was him. Jake confirms in the chat that it was him. So shout out to you, Britt. Appreciate you sending in a $10 super chat. Continue to load up all your questions, your comments, your thoughts in the chat. I see them all. We're going to get to those. Most importantly, continue to call into the show using the pinned link all the way at the top of the chat. And it's time, baby.
Partatical lacking yesterday, very much lacking. Nobody gives a shit. We're not going to start there. There was a lot of lacking I saw. I'm trying to make points here. Abracadabra. There was some miscommunication. Can I make a goddamn point here instead of this bullshit? Please. Oh, for Christ, for Christ's sake, I'm trying to make a good point here that we made some errors. Nobody gives a shit. But you know what? If this is how it's gonna be, piss on it.
Wow. The Beast leaving the studio, leaving StreamYard over some clips being played. Beast, I want to hear your insight on yesterday's game. Call into the show. Call back with the pinned comment at the top of the chat, Beast. What are we doing? Come on, Beast. Get back on the phone lines. I want to hear your take. But hey, next man up mentality, baby. Adam is too cool is next up here on the show. Adam, how we doing?
Good. First time in Italy? Have you been there before?
First time. Loving it so far.
That's awesome. And if you're with your family, definitely thank them, because when you're on family vacation, to be able to peel away from them, is especially for this kind of opportunity, is pretty awesome. It's pretty chill of them to support your career, man. I think that's really cool.
Certainly, and I'm super happy to do it. I told Jake, I said, it doesn't matter where you are on the globe. It doesn't matter if you're 6 hours ahead. It doesn't matter if you're 6 hours behind. You got to find time to do the Jake Asman show any day of the week. So shout out to Jake in the first place, for even giving me this platform, giving me this opportunity. I know you're backstage, Jake. Appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So, all right. So week 1, it's going to be very likely that TJ Watt is going to be lined up against Membu. I mean, welcome to the NFL to the extreme. I mean, that's going to be one heck of a difficult matchup one-on-one. What do you think Tanner Angstrand, Aaron Glenn, and the Brain Trust will do to help make things a little easier for Membu instead of thrusting him right into the dragon's mouth?
Well, I think he's kind of had that path to continue to progress and practice going against a player of Will McDonald's pedigree who he's not TJ Watt. TJ Watt is just a completely different tier. He, in my opinion, is a top 2 NFL player. That's who I think he is. He's Will McDonald, nor any edge rusher is near the elk of TJ Watt. But just for Membu, in my opinion, being able to go against a player like McDonald, being able to go against players on the Giants defensive line, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, all those different guys, Abdul Carter even, who he kept at bay. I was looking at the stat line. Shout out to Stefan Stelling, my colleague at Jets X Factor. He did a great job. He did a film review on every matchup in the preseason game from Membu against Carter. And I think Membu went 1-2-2. So he had 1 win, 2 losses, and 2 ties. So I think those baby steps of just gradually getting him to that level is going to help him enough.
Yeah, and that's assuming it's trusted to be one-on-one. I mean, I don't know, maybe one of the tight ends could help, team block, and just for that week. I mean, over time he'll be able to hold his own. He's got all the gifts, and he'll have the experience, as you pointed out. But hopefully maybe a tight end can help him out on some of these plays, because it is run heavy, right? So I mean, they're expected to run blocks, so hopefully there's something there, or they come up with some kind of really creative scheme to not necessarily have Membu on Watt for like more than a couple seconds before he eventually will probably win out over a rookie, because it's not just the strength it's just the repertoire of moves, it's the chess matches that go on with these linemen. It's awesome. I wish I knew more about it, but I know that it's a very intelligent position, even though these are huge dudes. A lot of intelligence goes into that. So we're all wishing that Membu has a really respectable first game in the league. Boy, is that going to be tough. But appreciate your ideas on this one. I think it's cool.
Of course, Adam, thank you for the call, my friend. Have a good day, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam is too cool. Checking in right here on the program. Shout out to him, Adam. Appreciate the call. If you guys want to get up here on the screen, you guys want to give your takes, ask me some questions, feel free to do so. The pinned link at the top of the chat. Open phone lines right here on the program. Again, call into the show with the pinned comment. Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on the Jake Asman Show. Send in a qualifying super chat, gift a membership, your last opportunity to be entered. And this week's raffle, a Joe Willie Namath signed jersey, a Kevin Mawai signed jersey, and a Sack Exchange signed photos. The prizes that you will be entering to win. Appreciate your support as always. Again, questions, comments, thoughts, load those up in the chat. Call into the show with the pinned comment Beast has called back in, so let's head up to the letter.
Coots yesterday actually got a grade of an F for failure. Lacking, no discipline, not enough movement, too slow. That ain't good enough. Sorry, gotta go. There was some Parteko lacking in the first, the second, and the third quarter. I didn't like what I saw. Too slow, not enough good quality, not enough speed. It was too slow. Fourth quarter was okay. There was some little pickups, but unfortunately, there's no saying, day late, that was short. Oh, how's Italy, by the way? How's Italy treating you, Mr. Connor?
It's treating me well, Beast. Jason Allen.
Have you tried any of the places around Little Italy yet?
I have. The food is like none other.
So what food did you have? What did you try so far?
Last night, I think, was probably the best meal I had. I got penne with meatballs. It was unworldly.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, Petey.
Good afternoon. I'd like one bag of dicks, please. Thank you very much. All right, I got my bag of dicks. Let's go.
My God. Whoever's hacking this show is going to get their eye busted wide open, and I'm talking.
Whoa. Beast, Gabe wants to know, how do you watch these games from an attic in Chicago?
The Global Studio headquarters has different options. We have First Row Sports. We have 24/7. We also have other.
Beast, 24/7 Sports is a high school recruiting website.
No, not necessarily. Try TV. Nobody gives a shit. Try TV 24/7. That actually works.
So you're an illegal streamer, Beast.
Hey, it works. Hey, whatever works, it works. All you gotta do is up here, common sense. And I think first game, I see Rodgers getting his lights knocked out cold. He'll be ran over like a freight train going. Just like that. A runaway train with 300-pound dudes crushing him like an ice cube on speed dial. And the only thing that... Can we please get to some good points here?
Beast, it's 6 rings.
Hey, 6 rings. Hey, Vato! Either calm it down or I'm going to red your eye up real nice with a nice big punch. And that punch looks like... Boom! You remember what did you ever watch Three Stooges, Connor?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Did you ever watch the Three Stooges?
That was before my time.
There was one episode. The one guy was one of the sergeants, and Kurt was like, "No, I'm in with the pink." Oh, now you're in with the black. That's what he's gonna get. A nice big.
Good afternoon. I'd like one bag of dicks, please. Thank you very much. All right, I got my bag of dicks. Let's go.
Beast, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. I just want to go back to you one more time quickly. Is that a real video?
No, it's not. That's fraudulent. That sounds like a load of crap in my book. But keep doing what you're doing, and try doing some golfing down there while you're in Italy.
I appreciate it, Beast. Before we let you go, I'd be remiss if I didn't get your thoughts on this illustration from Gator McCluskey of Michael Nania.
He's a funny looking fella. He's not too bad. He's up to par. And but Frankie V, gotta turn it down, buddy. But you're getting out of control because you try with me. You know what's gonna happen next? Wham, bam, and hussa!
Who cares?
Thank you for the call, Beast. We appreciate it. Thank you for your support as always. Thank you for tuning in here on the show. Again, if you guys want to get up on the screen, if you guys want to give your takes, you could do so by using the pinned link all the way at the top of the chat. We appreciate your support. As always, Connor Long in for Jake Asman right here with you guys on the Jake Asman Show. Keeping it going with your calls. PBM is up next right here on the show.
Purple belt Mike, he loves the dark night. He's got a green pool and he jumps right in. Maybe someday he'll get a brown belt, but for now he's just that purple belt Mike. Purple belt Mike, it might be purple, but he can still kick your dirty ass.
Yo, since you said you were in Italy, you got to try this. Okay, you have to get the gnocchi. But It's they do a white sauce, and I say sauce, but they really melt like 3 or 4 different cheeses, and they put bacon with it, dude. I was in Florence, so it's like
Right.
Florenzi style, but
Yeah.
they still do it all over. And in Toronto, you can find a place that wherever you have dinner, just get that specific gnocchi meal with like little bacon bits on top, dude. Incredible. There is no other meal like that on earth. So
Yeah,
I don't know
because
how
I've
long
been
you're there.
looking at. I appreciate that suggestion there, PBM, because I've been trying to find something that I'd like that's not like, for example, something that I couldn't get at home on Long Island. For example, like I've had a lot of pizza, I had a lot of pasta. It's like you can get that on Long Island at home. I want to get something that's a custom to Italy, so I will definitely check that out. I appreciate the intel.
Yeah, the way that the Italians do gnocchi is just insane. I don't know if it's the potatoes that are there or whatever, but dude, it's literally nothing like here. It's so good.
Love it. Appreciate the suggestion, PBM. You got any points you want to get into?
No, I'm just excited for the season. Let's go Jets, baby. Got my AG shirt on. But once you said you're in Italy, I gotta call in and let them know.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the insight, PBM, and have a good rest of your day, my friend.
Peace, brother. Good job.
One more thing, Connor. Try their gabagoo when you're out there. I mean, it's a little different here in the U.S. than it is over there. Give it a try. You might surprise yourself.
What about Beast? Thank you for the insight, but what about the bag of expletives that I can't share?
No, I'm not going to talk about that. That's foolish to me. I find that very very inappropriate. But also, the gnocchi actually is really good. I'd highly try that. That's pretty good. Also, one more thing to try.
You get the fuck out.
Thank you, Beast. I appreciate the call. Thank you for the gabagool suggestion, along with the gnocchi insight. I'm probably not saying that correctly. Gator says, best thing to do in Italy, go to a really expensive restaurant and ask for gravy in your pasta. Then tell the waiter to drain the oil from his hair onto your plate. I could try executing that tonight. I just don't know how well that would go over with the staff inside said restaurant. So I appreciate the tip, Gator, and I will definitely consider that during tonight's dinner, which, given that it's 7:52 p.m. in Italy right now, dinner should be occurring quickly. My Next Gen Jets show, live on my channel, shameless plug there, NY Flight Jets Talk. If you haven't subscribed there, go over, subscribe, NY Flight Jets Talk. That's where you can find my daily Jets podcast on YouTube. I do a show every single Sunday called Next Gen Jets. I know a bunch of you guys in the chat always tune in, and it's starting at 6 p.m. tonight, which means it doesn't start till midnight Italy time. So I'm kicking off a show at midnight tonight since I am overseas. I'm on the other side of the pond. So there we go. Midnight show for me starting tonight, the Next Gen Jets show. Again, if you can, go over, just subscribe to NY Flight Jets Talk. Chasing 2,000 subscribers. It is completely free, and it goes a long way. We appreciate the support as always. Again, call into the show with the link that is pinned all the way at the top of the chat. Load up all of your questions, your comments, your thoughts in the chat. Razor says Tommy DeVito is going to be cut by the Giants. This is the QB3 the Jets need. He is much better than Martinez/Cook combo. Beast, thoughts on Tommy Cutlets? Beast? Beast is Beast there? Is Beast alive? It doesn't look like that.
You get the fuck out.
Oh,
how you doing, Connor? I'm just trying to review some work here.
I was just asking if you had any insight on the comment here from Razor saying Tommy DeVito is going to be cut by the Giants. This is the QB3 the Jets need. He's much better than the Martinez-Cook combo.
Tommy DeVito? I haven't heard that name in quite some time. I'd say, you know what? Give him a try. See what he can do. But
Thank you, Beast. Appreciate that there. I see Tyrod's going to be ready for week 1. Razor on all accounts from what we heard from Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn is a lot different than Robert Saleh when it comes to evaluating injury and things of that nature. So if Tyrod's ready for week 1, I'm perfectly fine. However, if not, I personally prefer Martinez or Cook more. They're more accurate. They're more athletic. They're more mobile. And if not, trade for the other Giants quarterback in Jameis Winston. I do not have any interest in Tommy Cutlets. Nate says DT should just call in and co-host real quick. Dylan Terraman, who is in the chat right now. DT, if you want to call in, we have open phone lines right now. No one's backstage except Beast. So
how you doing? Nobody gives a shit. Give me a second.
DT, if you want to call in and get up here and give your takes on screen, use the pinned link at the top of the chat, and you could do so. We appreciate your support. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, Cody says Donovan Edwards makes the cut.
Now that is a hot take. Damn.
Interesting comment here, Cody. I spoke on it earlier. The only way that he stands any chance of making this 53-man roster is if Isaiah Davis gets placed on short-term IR. That's the only world. And I like him. I think he sticks around in the practice squad either way. I just don't think he's shown enough to warrant a roster spot. Like, if it's coming down to him or Quentin Skinner, I'm taking Quentin Skinner on the 53 any day of the week. So I think it depends on what the Jets do with the other positions on the depth chart. I think that's also going to help shape the decision on how the Jets handle this. How many wide receivers they carry, I think, is going to dictate a lot of the decisions that this team's going to make. Just because, like, you only have 53 roster spots. You really do. You really only have 53 spots, and how many offensive linemen are you going to carry? Do you carry 3 quarterbacks on the active roster? I think there are going to be a lot more tough decisions to be made on offense compared to defense. Prestige Shogun says Donovan Edwards is just better running back than Isaiah Davis. I don't think that's a fair assessment at all, Prestige. We've seen Donovan Edwards break out in half of a preseason game. We've seen Isaiah Davis minimal reps be very, very efficient out of the backfield while also catching passes as well. I'm still taking Isaiah Davis over Donovan Edwards any day of the week. I'm not, quite frankly, looking forward to seeing Isaiah Davis on third and short this year, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, seeing what he's able to do there. I'm really looking forward to seeing Isaiah Davis. I don't think Donovan Edwards is anywhere in that tier yet. Look, Edwards certainly shown promise, but again, preseason too. Keep that in mind, preseason. But in any world, he is nowhere near the tier that Isaiah Davis is in right now. But nevertheless, thank you for tuning in, Prestige Shogun. Thank you all for tuning in. Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman right here on the Jake Asman Show. Keeping it going with your calls. The great Kyle Clifton is up next here on the show.
The Beast was a little bit hesitant to talk about cutlets, but I'm pretty open about it. I want to talk about.
Interesting.
To me, if Fields gets hurt and Tyrod isn't able to play, I would think that if we would want to pick up another quarterback that would be more of a running quarterback that might fit what we're trying to implement here with the guys that are in our style. Just to pick up Cutlets because he's a Jersey guy or he's won some games. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson has won some games, and he's about to get cut, and he's more cut from that cloth. So
run and gun, exactly.
Yeah. So, for guys that, Jake was saying on one of his other shows that he was quoting one of the Colts coaches saying, we don't plan for EFT. Like,
I saw that.
That's what we're doing, planning for EFT. If we're embracing the idea that we absolutely need Tommy Cutlets on the 53. I would think that with all waiver wire claims, we're going to be a little bit more judicious and look more along the lines of wide receiver, tight end, edge, in no particular order, and just see who can best impact the team in the most impactful way. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Certainly. I don't think you carry 3 quarterbacks on the active roster, Kyle,
No.
especially with this latest update from Aaron Glenn indicated that he's confident Tyrod will be ready for week 1. That's a huge sigh of relief for this fan base overall and just this team as a whole because you need a dependable backup. I like Brady Cook a lot. I've voiced that out a ton. However, I don't feel comfortable him entering week 1 as the team's backup to Justin Fields, who's never started the full 17-game season. And is very scramble heavy when it comes to his approach and expose himself to more injury than just a traditional pocket passer. I would not feel comfortable with that.
Right. I mean, I feel like if Tyrod's not able to play and Fields gets hurt, we're going full tank anyway. We should see what Brady Cook has.
Exactly.
And then kind of go from there. And my last point is, I don't know if anyone was watching, but there's a pretty good college game on today, the Iowa State, Kansas State from Dublin, 7-7 here in the beginning of the third, just so they're aware.
There we go. Kyle, we appreciate the call. You got any final thoughts?
That's it, man. Have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Good trip.
Kyle Clifton. Appreciate it, Kyle. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Clifton checking in here on the show. Thank you for the kind words, Kyle. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for supporting us right here on the show. Again, Connor Long in for Jake Asman right here on this Saturday edition of the Jake Asman Show. And next up here on the show is none other than...
Well, there's a feller they call Charleston Jets rude, 'cause he calls the show nude, never wears a shirt. And some folks, they don't think he's got pants on either. It's a gosh darn nudist camp. Let's hear it for that Charleston Jets rube and see if he has any Jets points today.
Hey, Connor, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Charleston, how you been?
Good. The man-child. Take it over for Jake. I love it.
I appreciate it. You did ask in the private chat if Beast was still here. Do you have any interest in talking to Beast? Perhaps is that the reason you inquired?
You know, I just wanted to make sure he's doing okay because I know the last, week or so he's been. Look at him. He's just got that mean mug right now. Beast, man, everybody loves you, bud. You know, they pick on you because of the reaction that you get.
Hey, buddy, I'm gonna stop you right here. We have a saying here. If you want to be with the mob, you gotta look good. But if you want, nobody gives a shit. You want to get into a fight, you're gonna have to take it outside. Take it outside.
What does that have anything to do with Charleston Jets room?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I'm trying to make a point here that I've been under a lot of stress lately. Plus, when people get me onto the fireball, I will unleash hell. So, but I did watch that game, and that game deserves a grade of a D-.
Wait, Beast, you didn't watch last night's game?
Yes, I did. Whole thing. D-.
Where did you
there
watch
needs
it?
to be a lot of improvement.
What did you watch it on, Beast?
First of all, sports.
Okay.
You get the fuck out.
Charleston.
Yeah, I don't think so. The only place you could watch it out of market was NFL Plus, but whatever. It's
By the way, since I'm overseas, I was just thinking it all along. I'll just watch on NFL Plus because I have it for the film, I have it for the analytics, and then I log on like 3 hours before the game just to make sure everything is all squared away. And it said this isn't available in your region, so I had to buy like an $18 package. I think it was called DAZN, which is like the an NFL package in Europe, and spent $18 to watch the final preseason game, and I didn't go to bed, Charleston Jets Rube, until like 5:15 in the morning. So, watching a preseason game until 5:15 in the morning. That's
reason 1A and 1B why you are the announcing future for the NYJ, because you spent $18 to see the last preseason game with no starter playing, and you stay up till 5 a.m. Ain't too many built like you there.
Appreciate that, man. And the game was I was about to turn it off, and then I was literally getting ready to turn the game off in the fourth quarter. Then they started.
That's a great ending, though.
Yeah,
you had
they started marching down the field, so I was like, "Oh God, I hate this team." Just as I'm about to go to school, they start.
And then they had to screw it up at the end there and not get the 2-point conversion.
Oh yeah, that was a mess too.
But no, the reason why I called in is even before we picked these last two tackles up, I know everybody always talked about wide receiver and tackle, but even before we picked these guys up, in my mind, it's always been DN that's our biggest need.
Definitely.
Yes, wide receiver at the top is probably pretty weak, but when you look at our bottom half of the wide receiver, I would argue that there's not a whole lot of teams that have a better 5, 6, 7 fighting it out for the bottom of our roster, right? So overall, I don't think it's as bad, especially for the offense we're going to run, as what most people think, okay? And also with the D tackles before Cowher got hurt, as good as he's been playing, I've always felt like the D end was the weakest part. And the reason why is when you're counting on Clemens being the primary backup, coupled with the fact that JJ's just coming back from that injury, that's scary as hell to me. I don't
Especially
understand,
when you
and I
have someone
know
like Will McDonald too, by the way, and I don't mean to cut you off. I mean, I'm a big Will McDonald fan. I'm the first to tell you last year was a huge breakout year. He can't stop the run to save his life.
I think he's gotten better though in the preseason. The few snaps he's got, he's had some good
Vanilla
plays against the
concepts,
run.
though. That's the way I evaluate it. Like vanilla concepts. Like show me that in the regular season. Show me that against Pittsburgh week 1. Stop Jalen Warren behind the line because the Steelers week 1 matchup, they have no running game and they have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, who we all know can't move to save his life. The defensive line is going to be the story of the game for this team against Pittsburgh. Creating pressure, creating havoc, it's going to play a huge role.
I tell you what did get me pumped up though about JJ was his opening press conference after he got put back into practice and all that. I don't know if you saw that first press conference that he had there once he came back to the team. But man, did that dude look confident and good. And I mean, he's like a natural born leader. I love that guy. But what I don't understand is we have all this cap space, and I realize it's not a dollar for dollar you can bring over to the next year. So why don't we go out and get a guy like Jadeveon Clowney who isn't the greatest at either one, but he's pretty darn good at both, the run and the pass? And what would he cost? I mean, what
Nothing.
last year? Yeah, last year, what did Carolina give him? Like $1.5 million more than we did. I think they gave him like 12 or something like that.
Yep.
But a year later, we could probably get him for what, 9, 10, 11? And we've got like 36. Why aren't we getting this guy in here?
Or if it's Darius Smith, that's the guy I've been on since March. Experience in this scheme, get you 9 to 11 sacks a year, efficient run stuffer. It doesn't make sense.
Either one of those guys, yep.
I'm working on an article right now for Jets X Factor on it. It's going to be a bit of a lengthy one, but Darren Muji needs to take the same thought process he had with the defensive tackle room this week and bring it to edge. Looking back, I'm sure Darren Muji regrets not taking a defensive tackle in free agency, regrets not taking one in the draft, frankly, but he realized that and he adapted and gets 2 guys who are going to play huge roles on this team, one of which is going to most likely be the starter, who has been one of the most efficient run stuffers in the league over the past few years in Harrison Phillips. Now carry that same thinking with the edge position. If he's able to do that, I think this defensive line could be one of the top units in the league.
Yep, and then the nepotism has got to stop. Rucker's got to go. We got to pick up a tight end that gets cut from another team because Rucker, I'm sorry, I wanted to believe in him as much as anybody. And at the beginning of like OTAs, I was like, God, the dude looks cut. He looks like he's gained weight. He looks great. Man, he looked better. I mean, it's so crazy because when you watch him in Ohio State, he looked like he had so much potential, and now he just doesn't even look like he understands like NFL offenses.
It's crazy.
Makes no sense. He's a great story, but you know what? When you outlive that and you're a liability every time you're on the field, we would do better off picking up somebody's cut down tight end and rolling with that. I really don't want Ruckert on the team, and I know it's not going to happen. I really don't want Clemens anymore. I know he's going to be there, but
that's the annoying part for sure. Like you just know Clemens is going to be on the team no matter what, under any circumstance. Like no matter how poor he plays, he's going to be on this team. And look, the coaching staff has gone up to bat for him. Look, I think frankly this team wants to put the best players on the field, but there's no one behind him, especially with Weaver now getting placed on season-ending IR. There's no one who you can make.
That's just it. We have no depth. And it's so sad when you think about 2 years ago, the amount of depth that we had on D-line. And now that was our strongest position 2 years ago. And now it's our weakest position on the D end. It's crazy how it's just completely reversed. But anyways, tight end, get that shored up. Another D end, get that done. And I'm feeling pretty good about this roster. But I'm going to let you go. I'm sure you probably got other things or you want to end this up, but I appreciate you taking the call. And, as always, Jets, Jets.
Well, there's a feller they call Charleston Jets rude, 'cause he calls the show nude, never wears a shirt. And some folks, they don't think he's got pants on either. It's a gosh darn nudist camp. Let's hear it for that Charleston Jets Rube and see if he has any Jets points today.
What a call by Charleston Jets Rube. Love the passion. And boy, oh boy, do we have a heavy hitter to close us out. I'll leave you on that cliff note there as I indulge into a couple questions in the chat. Gator Scott, will you be watching former Jets legend Zach Wilson tonight? It'll be around 3 a.m. for you, set an alarm. Oh, yeah, waking up at 3 a.m., baby, to watch Zach Wilson. Dude, he's looked embarrassing for the Dolphins. I didn't have any worries like some fans of him, balling out with the Dolphins. It's just happy to see him look like crap, though. Gators, did the NFL get rid of the emergency third quarterback designation? That was a good thing. So this is the caveat with the Gator. For that to occur, you have to have those 3 quarterbacks on your 53. So, for example, if the Jets have Brady Cook, Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields all in the 53, then Brady Cook could be considered inactive but the emergency quarterback. However, if he's on the practice squad, then no. That's the caveat with the rule. I appreciate the question, and a good question coming by way of the great Gator McCluskey. And that heavy hitter to close us out, baby, is none other than the Dream, Andrew C., who joins us here on the show. Andrew, how we doing?
What's up, man? So, if we're talking about third string quarterbacks, what are we doing?
I know. We don't want to be talking about it, but it's preseason. So
All right, hold on. My dog is barking.
Andrew, I have a question for you.
Yeah, hold on. I'm go ahead.
As Andrew C. relocates, we will
All right. Hey, listen. Yeah, he's going.
Are you there?
He doesn't. Yeah, I'm here.
Have you downed any alcoholic beverages today?
Yeah. Well, it's fucking absolutely, obviously.
What makes it an obviously?
Well, because it's the weekend, yeah.
Yeah. So how many times have you cracked that bottle open today?
Crack the bottle. It is open all weekend, yeah.
So yeah. So how many bottles of 21 plus beverages have you consumed these past couple days?
Well, yesterday. Anyways, I had some points I've written down for you. Oh man, my points.
Yeah, we can get into the points, Andrew. What are said points?
All right, so now I'm outside and drunk because my dog was barking.
So your dog barking is what made you under the influence today.
Well, no, he was barking, and then I came out here to stop him from barking, and then my points are back in the house, Connor.
You left your points, so you had them written down on a piece of paper.
I did, yes, Connor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you recall any of them by chance? Because I'm more than happy to give my takes on your points.
All right, yeah. How about this one? I like the practice that Aaron Glenn did with the player practice. Is that a thing? Do NFL teams do that?
It's not a thing that all 32 NFL teams do, the Dream, but it was a thought process by Aaron Glenn saying, we've been coaching you up, we've instilled this culture change. Now let's see you do it without us. Now take that into your own hands and see if this message truly resonated. I think that was the thought process.
I think that's good, man. Oh, he's rolling around the grass.
Oh God. What's that dog's name, Andrew?
Huh?
What's that dog's name, Andrew?
Happy.
Named after Happy Gilmore?
Nah, I'd have to have it. Well, I don't know, bro. He got him from the pound, you know?
Yeah. Andrew, I have a question for you, and then we'll let you go.
What's up?
Are you more of a alcoholic beverage guy or a cigarette guy?
I'm more of a Muji moves.
So I'm not quite sure that was an answer there. I'll attempt again.
Alcohol, yeah.
Okay, Andrew.
But I like the Muji moves.
Interesting. We appreciate the intel there. Hope you have a
Intel.
great weekend.
Yeah. I'm part of the Intel. All right. Fair enough.
Andrew, we appreciate it.
Well, I love you guys.
Thank you.
All
The
right.
dream, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew C. checking in here on the show. A caller like no other. A caller like no other. That, of course, being Andrew C., better known as the Dream. I was going to end it there, but when you have someone who made the Final Four and has Maniac Madness and is one of the greatest in this community call in, you keep the show going a few extra minutes due to that person.
He's the king.
My brother. Let me just say this, man. I don't know what the hell that last call was, but Buddy was slurred as hell. Couldn't nobody understand what the hell Andrew C. was saying, son. Get up out that damn sun with your drunk ass son and make some valiant points. I don't know what the hell you were saying. Let me just say this about this last preseason game, baby. It was a good one all the way down to the end. It's a lot of things we got to clean up, and all of the talk that AG has been doing, all of the fussing and all of the antics we've been seeing from him, man. I really hope they come to fruition with some real play on the field, man, because the penalties are getting out of control. Okay, again, with undisciplined football all across. I'm talking about nimble with these false starts, man. I'm not getting why are we steadily
to be
getting
fair, yesterday that one should have been called on Colavau, the right guard. He jumped before Membu, but I still where you're coming from. I mean, Membu had a pre-snap one against the Giants as well. He had a couple holding calls. Gradually, I think that shit gets cleaned up. I mean, the guy's appeared in 3 NFL games now. I think there's some time that gets cleaned up.
Right, but my thing is, we can't go into the season with these undisciplined guys, man. Okay, at the end of the day, we have to nip that in the blood. It's the same thing from last year, man. The same penalties, the same mistakes, the same undisciplined bullshit from last year. It hasn't changed, and it comes down to guys really homing in and getting locked in into the season, man. These are mistakes that you don't see the good teams make. At the end of the day, we have to become a good team that don't make the mistakes that just are elementary. Okay? We can't make elementary mistakes. Okay? At the end of the day, we're going to have to nip the undisciplined football in the bud, man. I'm tired of seeing it, Connor. I really am. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, let me say this, man. I know we're going to run the ball. Okay? We're going to have to get another weapon, though. It's inevitable, and I'm seeing that Garrett and Brees is gonna be the 1-2 punch that we're gonna come out with every Sunday. We're gonna have to find another weapon. I don't know how Mason Taylor's gonna come along. I don't know how Arians, all of these guys are gonna come along, but we're going to have to get another weapon, because I don't want to become stagnant on offense. I don't want to become one-sided, one-dimensional on offense. Okay, everybody knows we're gonna run the ball, and we're gonna do that very well. But it's gonna come down to it's gonna be a time where, hey man, we're gonna have to make that 3rd and 8. We're gonna have to make that 3rd and 9. Okay, and we're gonna have to pass that ball. Okay, and at the end of the day, we're gonna have to set Justin Fields up to do the easy things, man, to make the easy look easy. So we're gonna have to get him another safety blanket. But I like what I'm seeing. Besides the penalties, it's the undisciplined football, and I've been talking about this since last year. Okay, you think with a new coach that we would get the undisciplined bullshit out of the door, but we're gonna have to home these guys in. Lock them in, man. Make sure they know this cannot be tolerated. It can't. So, hey man, hey man, shout out to the Asmanians, Connor. You always do a beautiful job when you substitute in for Jake. Hey man, I love your show. I love what the next gen guys are doing. All of the young guys in the Jets Nation, man. I love y'all guys. Shout out to that chat. Hey man, Jake, man. Hey, you be safe on us out there in Vegas, man. I know you drinking it up, man. You and Zach. Hey, man. All of the Jet Nation. All I want to do is just win games, man. That's all I want to do, baby. See good football, win games, baby. Hey, man. Shout out to the Asmaniacs again, baby. Just.
Ladies and gentlemen, the king. I'm at a loss of words after that. Like I typically am after every King Lowski call, but electric there. I appreciate the kind words as always, King. Thank you for your support. Andrew C. has called back in, so I'm wondering if he has any more takes to lay out. Andrew, anything?
Well, I don't think we need a wide receiver too. I think that's a mistake. I think our offense, we just do it as is, and then maybe after the Steelers game, then we reevaluate.
Andrew, thank you for the insight.
Is that stupid?
No, I thought it was a great point.
All right, well, I mean, Steve Connor. I mean, you're the legend over here. I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, you're the legend, Andrew.
well, I'm talking to a fucking underage kid while I'm drunk. What the fuck? Right? I'm trying to
I appreciate the call. I hope to see you soon.
Maybe on the. Oh, you don't do the cruise.
Are you doing the cruise?
I don't know. I'm not a cruise guy because you get on there and I'm in Florida. I have to go up to Florida and then off to the cruise to Bermuda. But I mean, if everybody's gonna be here, I might, a year from now.
Andrew, what do you do for work, if you don't mind me
I
asking?
drive a propane tanker truck. Yeah.
You drive while consuming this copious amount of alcohol, or you sober during the week?
No, are you crazy, bro?
No. You're sober during the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you for the call, my friend.
So, what are we gonna do with like I said, wide receiver number 2? I think it.
I appreciate the call, Andrew. Yes, I agree with your take. Like I mentioned, I think it was a great point. Look, I've been in the boat. I don't want to give up a high caliber amount of assets to allocate towards adding a second true pass catcher. When Justin Fields truly does not throw the ball that much. I think that would be a mistake for this team to send off a third-round pick for an Alec Pierce. I don't think that would make sense. But look, I agree with your take there. I'm not in the boat where I'm fully gung-ho, if you will, on you need to add. Gator, I only drink water. I think I've said that before. I'm only a water drinker, so I cannot relate to that by any measure. Cannot. But I appreciate the comment as always, Gator. Thank you, my friend. And thank you all for tuning in right here on the show. Connor Long filling in for Jake Asman. We appreciate your support as always. Thank you so much for all your kind words supporting me through the show. Shout out to all you great Jet fans. Shout out to all you Asmaniacs. I just threw the link in the chat. You can subscribe to my channel on YouTube, NY Flight Jets Talk, daily Jets content there. I'll be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, so hope to see a good amount of you guys over there. Again, just threw the link in the chat. Please, please, please head over there. Just hit subscribe quickly. It is completely free. Chasing 2,000 subs mean a lot if you could just go over and hit subscribe. Again, daily Jets content will be live over there tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hope to see you guys. I appreciate you all. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to all the Asmaniacs in the building. Shout out to the great Jake Asman for always giving me the opportunity to fill in right here on the show. Shout out to you, Jake. See you backstage. Thank you so much for your support.
My bad, everybody.
Hope all goes well for you at the Badlands event that you will be emceeing tonight. Again, thank you to all you Asmaniacs in the chat. I appreciate your support as always. I'm Connor Long right here on the Jake Asman Show saying have a great day, everyone. And as always, JTS, baby. Jets, Jets, Jets. Peace out, folks.
People in the chat are asking, where's Ryan and where's Jet Central? Ryan couldn't make it.
Isn't Ryan on hold, Richie?
Ryan's on hold. Oh.
Wait, is he here?
Wait.
Bring him on and start over. Hey, look.
Wait, he's
been here.
You guys didn't invite me to this fucking thing. What the fuck's how come you didn't invite me to this fucking thing? All of a sudden, like, I come on the YouTubes and I see all this grin. It looks like Shrek took a shit. Shouldn't that guy be in jail? And did you see what that guy did with Nania?
Into the Taekwondo! You gosh darn go! I changed my profile pic to a Patriots logo as a joke, and now Twitter is not allowing me to change my profile pic back. So it appears I.
Oh gosh.
Be in jail. That's great.
What the heck was that? I did not expect that. All of a sudden, Jake's like, "There's someone backstage." And
that was awesome.
Did you send Gator the link, Jake? I'm so confused.
I can't comment publicly on what transpired.
Of course.
That completely caught me off guard. I did not expect that or. That was fun.
That was good.
Oh, that was great. All right, well, that was Ryan. Jets Talk 24/7.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the fuck out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.